Sagittarius, this is not just a love story. It is a karmic lesson rising precisely at the time when Saturn is in retrograde in Pisces from July to November this year, especially impacting Sagittarians with sun, moon, or rising signs in this zone. You can no longer avoid it, because the stars themselves are placing you in front of a mirror. Is this love truly for you, or is it something you're holding on to out of fear of losing yourself? This is no longer a playground of romantic experiences. This is a turning point, forcing you to face what lies between passion and self-worth, between waiting and letting go. And you know this feeling well. You've loved someone who made you believe that if you were sincere, persistent, and never gave up, then love would wait for you. But this time, things aren't unfolding the way you used to believe. You're starting to feel yourself come to a stop, not because you've stopped loving, but because you're no longer sure if the other person is still walking this path with you. You've given so much. You've stood by them, supported them, endured the silence, the ambiguity, and their constant stepping back. And now you're starting to ask yourself, what exactly are you waiting for? What is it that you're still trying to hold on to here? Today, we're not asking, do they still love you? That question is no longer enough. The real question is, where are you in this journey, and what's keeping you in a relationship that's no longer moving forward? Here's what you need to know, Sagittarius. You are entering a transition between two major cycles. On one side is Jupiter, your ruling planet, urging you to believe, to love, to hope, and to keep expanding the borders of your heart. But on the other side is Saturn, setting boundaries, testing your faith, and demanding clarity in the very things you once believed were right. You are standing at that exact intersection between ideals and reality, between motivation and worthiness, between saving the other person and saving yourself. And the rest of this message won't just help you understand who they are. It will shed light on something deeper. Are they truly the love you're meant to keep holding on to? Or are they simply the mirror reflecting the greatest lesson the universe is urging you to walk through? Who are they, and why can't you walk away? It may be because this relationship is under the influence of Jupiter, your ruling planet, transiting through your 7th house of partnerships. Jupiter always seeks growth and idealism, but when faced with a partner who can't keep up, Sagittarius may feel thrown off balance. Uranus may also be at play here, creating unexpected shifts or tension within the relationship, disrupting its natural flow and development. You once saw a light in this person, not the light of perfection, but one that felt just like yours, radiant, untamed, and beautifully wild. It was the light of a soul burning with fire, with passion, with ideals, and a fierce desire to break beyond all limits. Someone who lives for what they believe in, willing to burn through everything just to claim their own freedom. You saw them, and in them, you saw yourself. They are smart, determined, and operate with bold speed. They can stand in front of a crowd, speak their truth, do what they believe in, and make people stop and listen. Like you, they inspire. But like you, they're impulsive. They rush. They get swept up by passion and forget what's truly worth holding on to. You didn't fall in love with someone predictable. You fell for someone on your frequency, someone who shares your ideals and your wounds, aching to touch something greater. And that's why when they suddenly stepped back, it left you stumbling, not because they meant more than everything, but because you're still asking. If they're not the one to walk this path with you, then who else could possibly understand the fire burning within you? What is this relationship really? When the other person begins to doubt themselves and steps back. This isn't a relationship lacking in emotion. It's a connection full of feeling but lacking readiness. Under the influence of Saturn retrograde in Pisces from July to November, Many people fall into a state of self-doubt, especially when Saturn forms a square or opposition with personal planets in their individual birth chart. They're not pulling away because they don't care. They're pulling away because they feel unworthy, unable to bring any real value into your life. Saturn, when affecting the axis of self-worth, linked to the 2nd, 10th, or 6th houses, depending on the individual chart, amplifies the feeling of, "I'm not good enough," or "I have nothing to offer." They withdraw on their own, because in their mind, if I can't give you something meaningful, maybe it's better to let go. This relationship didn't begin with love, it began with resonance. This might be someone who first showed up in your life as a teammate, a companion, or a collaborator. Connections like this are often influenced by planets in the 6th house, collaboration, or aspects involving the Moon, Uranus, and Jupiter. They offer a very natural beginning, nothing forced, and they often evolve in a way where you don't even know when the feelings began. These kinds of bonds don't require a label. You don't call it love. But the glances, the way they stayed, and then quietly left, all carried the energy of something undeniably real. This is the kind of connection that makes Sagittarius feel close, yet unable to truly hold on to it. This relationship doesn't have limits, it has cycles. This is a crucial point. Under the influence of the Moon, Neptune, or Uranus axis in the 5th or 7th house, many current relationships don't follow a logical path. Instead, they move in waves, in cycles, sometimes close, sometimes distant. At times, you feel like soulmates. At other times, like two strangers retreating to opposite ends of the world. And it's exactly this in-between state that keeps you from leaving, but also prevents you from truly holding on. The feeling of slipping just when it seems within reach? You've tried. You once believed that if you just loved hard enough, were sincere enough, stayed long enough, then they would finally open up. But under the influence of Uranus or Neptune forming tense aspects to your personal planets, what you've experienced is every time you get close to something that feels whole, it slips through your hands again. Not because you're wrong, not because they are, but because you didn't meet at the right time. Your path might be expanding under the influence of Jupiter, while theirs may be held back by Saturn. You're rising, they're looking back. You're opening up, they're retreating. And those two trajectories, though on the same frequency, simply can't move forward side by side. This is the kind of connection that makes Sagittarius feel the most lost, because it doesn't offer a clear answer. It doesn't hurt you enough to walk away. It gives you just enough hope so you don't let go, but lets things drift just enough so you can't hold on either. And under the retrograde influence of Saturn and the blurred aspects of Neptune in Pisces, this is a time when many Sagittarians are being tested by lessons with no name. Love without definition, bonds without clarity, deep understanding but no shared path, close in distance but unable to hold hands. And you begin to ask yourself, am I trying because I love? Or am I trying because I don't want to face the truth that this person can't walk this path with me? Why did they withdraw? This person doesn't feel confident enough to move forward and continue the relationship. They want to step back to allow themselves time to grow so that one day they might feel worthy of you. Between July and November 2025, under the influence of Saturn retrograde in Pisces, many relationships fall into a push-pull dynamic, not because the love is gone, but because one person doesn't feel worthy enough to stay. This is clearly reflected in the interaction between Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter brings expansion and idealism, but when it encounters the restraints of Saturn, we see a tug-of-war between grand aspirations and practical limitations. Here, Saturn suppresses confidence and reinforces the feeling of not being enough to take the next step. This person didn't walk away because they stopped loving you. They withdrew because they believed you deserved more than what they could offer at that moment. In a way, this isn't a lack of care. It's a form of insecurity called, "I'm not enough." They feel like they're at a stage where they're not stable enough, not accomplished enough, not valuable enough to deserve the love you've given them. And maybe you've done a lot already. You stood by them when they were lost, when they were in crisis, when they were just starting something new. You were their support system, their listener, the one who gave without asking for anything in return. And they know that. They know it more than you think. But for that very reason, they feel small, not in your eyes, but in their own. And when someone feels beneath the person they love, they don't want to keep loving. They want to reinvent themselves. They need to retreat to regain their sense of place. They need time to reclaim their self-respect. They need success so they won't feel like they're leaning on you for everything. To you, it feels like abandonment. But to them, it's the only way they know how to hold on to a shred of self-worth. They're caught in a state of hesitation, unsure whether they should keep waiting. They feel like the spark in the connection has faded. This reflects the influence of Mars and Mercury as they move through astrological houses tied to action and communication, such as the 3rd and 7th houses. Mars typically brings momentum, but when it's delayed due to conflicting transits, like a square to Saturn, Sagittarius may feel restrained. Likewise, Mercury under tense aspects can create communication delays and a sense of ambiguity within the relationship. They don't speak. They go quiet. They withdraw. They act as if they no longer care. But inside, you're still the one they think about more than anyone else. They don't love you loudly. They love you with a quiet kind of gratitude, like someone who once found refuge in your presence, who remembers you being there at the very moment they were falling apart. They dream of you. They see you again in passing signs, in an old song, in the way someone says your name on the street. Their living space, though you may no longer be in it, still carries your imprint. You are the light that softens their edges. The only one who didn't love them for status, fame, or ability. You loved them simply for who they are. They know you once gave a lot, not just emotionally, but in tangible ways, your time, your energy, even your resources. And that frightens them. They're afraid that if they continue, they'll become a burden, afraid that the love you've offered is far greater than anything they can return right now. They see you as precious, not the kind of precious they want to possess, but the kind of precious they don't want to harm any further. In their eyes, you are strong. See, when they don't feel brave enough to walk alongside at this moment. And so they choose to keep you in their heart rather than in their hands. They believe you are someone special, but they also believe that if they keep going, they'll only end up hurting you more. So they step back with love and regret, with longing and shame. They're struggling, but what's still holding you back? Sagittarius feels lost in the absence of this person, but when they look deeper, the attachment to this relationship has turned into a habit that's hard to break. This stems from the involvement of Venus and Mars, planets tied to relationships and the magnetic pull between two people. When Venus, love, and value is under challenging influences from Saturn or Uranus, love can feel stagnant, caught in repetitive patterns. This makes Sagittarius feel like they can't keep going, yet can't walk away either. The presence of Mars in the relationship brings intensity and passion, but when there's no clear direction, Sagittarius feels stuck in a state of suspension. If you're waiting for a reply, a return, a moment when they finally realize you were everything, then hear this as honestly as you can. They're still on the move, not away from you, but toward the life they need to complete. And if you're asking, will they come back? The answer is maybe. but not tomorrow, and certainly not as the same version you once knew. They need time to grow, not because you asked them to, but because even they can't bear the idea of always being the one who is loved and not knowing how to fully love in return. You're not going to lose them. As long as you understand this, some people don't disappear. They just step off your track for a while to learn how to run alongside you rather than being pulled along. Soon their journey will shift course. They're slowly approaching the things they used to dream about: recognition, status, stability. They will rise, stand taller, feel more whole. And when that day comes, they'll remember you as the first person who believed in them when they had absolutely nothing. That position can't be replaced. But now you need to ask yourself, when they return, will you still be the one waiting? Or will you have become the one who finally chooses what you truly deserve? Are you in love with them or the ideal you once painted? Sagittarius, pause for a moment, and not to give up, but to look closely. The person you're holding in your heart, are they truly present? Or are you clinging to a version of them that has been magnified by longing? When Neptune touches the 7th or 12th house, love is no longer a tangible experience. It becomes a metaphor, strangely beautiful, but one where you can't quite see the boundaries of yourself. You loved with that very Sagittarius kind of faith, believing in what isn't yet seen, believing in the happy ending. And because of that, you didn't walk away, even when all signs said they were no longer walking with you. You're still waiting, still sending out silent signals of love, even when they no longer respond. Not because you're weak, but because Saturn, the planet challenging you right now, is sitting exactly where it forces you to look inward and ask, are you trading your self-worth to sustain a relationship that only flows one way? Saturn doesn't take love from you, but Saturn will ask this: how far have you gone in loving someone else that you forgot how to love yourself? Perhaps this relationship has turned into an emotional obligation. You're no longer staying because you still love them, but because you don't know what else to do, because you've invested too much, because you don't want to admit they never chose you in the way you chose them. When the 6th house is activated by Saturn or Jupiter, love can slip into the space of service, where you give too much, believing that if you just keep trying, you'll eventually be loved back. But love isn't a task list to be checked off. Love needs to be mutual, willingly, from both sides. And maybe the saddest part is not that they don't love you, but that they never loved you as you are. They loved the version of you who sacrificed for them, while you loved them not for who they are, but for who they could become. When Venus stops receiving reflection from the opposing houses, you could keep walking forever without anyone ever pulling you back. Not because you weren't enough, but because you've been walking a road that was never meant for two. So the question is no longer, will they come back? The real question is, if they do, will you still be the one who waited? You'll still be Sagittarius, the one who loves deeply and lives by faith. But after this phase, you'll know, some things are only beautiful when unfinished. Some people only come into your life to teach you how to love yourself, stronger, truer, and in better timing. If you've listened this far, it means a part of you still wants to hold on, and that's perfectly okay. Astrology doesn't give answers. It draws a map so you can see where you stand in this journey. You might choose to stay. You might choose to move forward. But this time, you won't be walking in a fog, because now you're seeing more clearly who you are, what you need, and where this relationship is placing you. From that moment, The path is no longer vague. It becomes a conscious choice. And you are no longer walking in the dark. You might be thinking of someone, or perhaps you're remembering a version of yourself from the past. If something in this reading touched you, leave a comment, even if it's just a word, a dot, or an emoji, so that not just you, but others who are also walking through emotional fog can recognize each other and know we are not alone on this journey of healing. And if you're not a Sagittarius, but you're holding space for one, maybe this is the moment you truly understand them more deeply, more honestly. Send this message to the person on your mind. Who knows? It might be the gentle truth they've been needing to hear.